Hola chicos, es señor Corso. Bienvenidos a los apuntes de Reflexive Verbs. So reflexive verbs, they describe an action that is done to or oneself. The subject does and receives the action of the verb. I have two examples here in English. I wash my hands. Notice that I am doing the washing and I'm also receiving the washing. Okay, the second example that I have is you brush your teeth. So you're doing the brushing and you're also receiving the brushing because they're your teeth. Okay, now in Spanish, verbs ending with se are reflexive verbs. Now the question is, how do we conjugate them? And that is why you're here. So let's start off with the verb afeitarse. If you recall, I asked you guys to underline or highlight the se in every single one of these verbs, basically indicating to you that they're all pronouns. They're the reflexive pronoun. So for the time being, we're going to ignore the se and just conjugate this verb as if it were a regular AR verb. Alright, if you recall this is in the present tense, and if you remember the song, O as a amos ais an, then we're good. So yo afeito, tú afeitas, él, ella y usted afeita, nosotros afeitamos, vosotros afeitáis, ellos, ellas y ustedes afeitan. Now this is where the pronoun comes back into play. Okay, notice we would have yo afeito, tú afeitas, él, ella y usted afeita, nosotros afeitamos, vosotros afeitáis, ellos, ellas y ustedes afeitan. The pronoun comes back into play, and we put it before the conjugated verb, just like we do with the direct object pronouns and the indirect object pronouns. The pronoun goes before the conjugated verb. So in this case, you'll recognize this. The pronoun is me. Yo me afeito. Tú te afeitas. Él, ella y usted se afeita. Nosotros nos afeitamos. Vosotros os afeitáis. Ellos, ellas y ustedes se afeitan. Now notice, these, the se, is really the only pronoun that is new to you. The rest you have seen in indirect object pronouns and direct object pronouns. Let's move on down to the question. ¿Con qué te afeitas? Okay. Yo me afeito con la crema de afeitar. Now, those of you guys that want to know how to say razor, it's la navaja. Let's move on to the next verb. Ponerse. Okay, which is to put on oneself. Okay, so once again, it's poner. We've seen that verb before. It's conjugated in the present tense. Remember, the yo form is the only one that's different. It's pongo. Tú pones. Él, ella, usted pone. Nosotros ponemos. Vosotros ponéis. Ellos, ellas y ustedes ponen. Now we just plug in our reflexive pronouns. Me pongo, te pones, se pone, nos ponemos, os ponéis, and se ponen. Let's go on to a practice question. ¿Cuándo te pones un suéter. Yo me pongo un suéter. And we'll just say cuando hace frío. Right, because the question is asking, when do you put on a sweater? Yo me pongo un suéter cuando hace frío. Next verb, dormirse. Okay, which means to fall asleep. Now notice that I've highlighted parts of the box, of the chart, because it's a boot verb. Notice the UE. So, we know how to conjugate this already. We saw this in level 1. Yo duermo. Tú duermes. Él, ella y usted duerme. Nosotros dormimos. Vosotros dormís. Ellos, ellas y ustedes duermen. And now we just plug in our pronouns. Yo me duermo. Tú te duermes. Él, ella y usted se duerme. Nosotros nos dormimos. Vosotros os dormís. Y ellos y ellas se duermen. Practice question here. ¿A qué hora te duermes generalmente? Okay, so yo me duermo a las 10 de la noche. Generalmente. Because the question is asking, at what time do you fall asleep generally? The next verb that we're going to conjugate is acostarse, which your textbook says it means to go to bed, yes, but it also could mean to lay down. So once again, it's a boot verb, so we conjugate it as a boot verb, AR boot verb. So, yo acuesto, tú acuestas, él, ella y usted acuesta, nosotros acostamos, vosotros acostáis, ellos, ellas y ustedes. Un momento. Acuestan. And now just plug in your pronouns. Me acuesto, te acuestas, se acuesta, nos acostamos, os acostáis y se acuestan. One question here. ¿A qué hora se acuestan tus amigos? Okay, bueno. Mis amigos se acuestan a las 11 de la noche. Because it's asking at what time do your friends go to bed. So my friends go to bed at 11 at night. Bueno chicos, this concludes the notes. Please bring your notes to class. And please make sure that you also review your notes from time to time to make sure that you know how to conjugate these verbs and know where these pronouns come into play. Hasta luego.